Hi, I'm a Sand Recap, and this is a movie to get. Judge Dredd. Judge Joseph Dredd is the only thing preventing chaos and order in the future plagued by crime.
With the grip, a fail-safe security precaution.
His obligation, if necessary, police the violent metropolitan sprawls that clog the dying earth and kill criminals immediately. The film begins with a narrated scrolling prologue. The ecosystem of Earth has changed and become polluted in the third millennium, turning much of the planet into a barren desert known as the Cursed Earth. The majority of people have moved to a few megacities, where there has been a massive increase in population and law and order has collapsed. The street judges, who are judge, jury, and executioner and possess the license to fight criminals, impose sentences, and, if necessary, execute them summarily, have established a new order.
Herman G. Ferguson is returning to Mega City 1 at the beginning of the story after serving time in the Aspen Penal Colony.
He gets to Heavenly Haven, his new home, which is in a dangerous neighborhood where there is a bloody block war. His new apartment is where the gangsters have set up their command center, and 40 stories below them, they have opened fire on their rivals in another building and on the street.
When Fergie gives the block warriors ammunition, he finds himself a co-conspirator who didn't know it. Road judges Hershey and her up-and-comer judge answer the block war.
Hershey immediately calls for help, and the most well-known street judge, Judge Joseph Dredd, shows up. He leads an assault on the block warriors and uses his 𝐓𝐚𝐿 pistol to quickly eliminate several of them. When the candidate for Hershey hurries into the command post and is shot right away, he dies.
Dredd promptly executes the block war leader for the murder of the candidate after killing everyone else but the leader of the block war and charging him with several violations of the Mega City Municipal Code. He declares that the court has been postponed. He finds Fergie hiding in a servodroid outside the apartment and sentences him to 5 more years in Aspen for being a repeat offender. Dredd is unmoved and orders Fergie to be reincarcerated, despite Fergie's claims that he is innocent and was hiding from the block warriors. Chief Justice Fargo questions Dredd's hardened methods of summary execution when he reports to him. When the judge tells him that the executions were inevitable, he believes Dredd. Dredd teaches ethics at the academy a few days per week for Fargo. Warden Miller meets Rico at the Aspen Penal Colony and gives him a small object with a copy of Rico's badge and a picture of Vartis Hammond, a reporter who has done several highly critical investigative reports on the street judges. Rico shoots Miller through the throat when he suddenly opens a hidden compartment in the box, turning it into a small pistol. Miller is immediately killed by the cannons in Rico's cell because he is unable to match the voice identification that disarms them. Rico manages to kill the guards who rush into the room while hiding.
Dredd explains to a group of cadets at the academy about the weaponry of a street judge and how little it matters if you know the Mega City Municipal Code. In addition, he informs them that they stand a high risk of being killed while on duty and that, if they live long enough, they will take the long walk into the Cursed Earth, where they will instruct the barbaric inhabitants outside of the city limits.
Hershey later addresses Dredd about his stubborn character and whether he had any companions.
Dredd tells her that he did have a friend at the academy, but that when he broke the law, he had to judge and sentence him.
In a body bag, Rico sneaks off from Aspen on a shuttle. He finds a box set aside for him at a pawn shop in Mega City.
A 𝐓𝐚𝐿 pistol and a judge's uniform are contained in the box. The proprietor of the pawn shop warns Rico not to pick up the gun because all law enforcement officers are booby-trapped and will only recognize a street judge's grip.
Rico shoots the man dead, revealing that he is a judge himself, untouched by the defense mechanism. Rico reactivates an enormous ABC warrior combat droid found in the shop, assigning it the role of his personal bodyguard and the war mission. An unidentified judge breaks into Hammond's apartment and kills him and his wife. A security camera records the incident and Hammond says, "Dredd." At the end,
Dredd is taken into custody on the street and held for trial. Due to her expertise in criminal law, Dredd selects Hershey to represent him. The security camera recording is presented at the trial. However, Hershey successfully dismisses the evidence as speculative due to the inability to identify Dredd. New evidence, however, is presented. The 𝐓𝐚𝐿 pistol has a hidden feature that records the user's DNA and leaves it on each shot of ammunition. Dredd's DNA is identical to that of the rounds that killed Hammond and his wife. The defense of Hershey and Dredd fails, and Dredd is given the death penalty. After seeing one of his best students, Dredd, sentenced, Fargo, overcome with guilt, decides, with some coercion from Justice Griffin, to step down as Chief Justice and make the long journey into the Cursed Earth from Mega City. Fargo asks the Justice Council to commute Dredd's death sentence and place him in the Aspen Penal Colony for the rest of his life before he resigns. Fargo leaves Mega City in honor of the council, and Griffin takes over as Chief Justice. Rico confronts Griffin when he returns to his office later,
demanding access to the Janice Project. Griffin lets Rico know that there should be an interest for the venture to be executed. In order for Griffin to persuade the Justice Council to reinstate Janice, the city must be ravaged by violent crime. Rico says he will do that. Dredd is put on a shuttle that will take him to Aspen. Situated close to him is 𝐓𝐚𝐠𝐬. Dredd himself handed down sentences to a number of criminals who are seated around them. Dredd and 𝐓𝐴𝐚𝐠𝐬 briefly argue about how 𝐓𝐴𝐚𝐠𝐬 was wrongfully reconvicted by Dredd. 𝐓𝐴𝐚𝐠𝐬 asks Dredd to explain how the judge got himself convicted, and Dredd responds, "The law doesn't make mistakes." Dredd is then attacked by yet another shuttle con. The Angel family, religious fanatics and pirates of the cursed earth, use a rocket launcher on the ground to knock the shuttle out of the sky. The subsequent chaos results in the deaths of the shuttle pilots. The only survivors are Dredd and 𝐓𝐴𝐚𝐠𝐬, who are taken by the Angels. 𝐓𝐴𝐚𝐠𝐬 conducts her own investigation into Dredd's conviction in her apartment, but she quickly becomes locked out of Central's online system. Dredd describes the Angel family as scavengers and pirates in their hideout. 𝐓𝐴𝐚𝐠𝐬 suddenly declares his faith in the Angels' religion in an effort to flee their clutches and is released. The Angels' darkest secret is then disclosed by Dredd. They intend to eat 𝐓𝐴𝐚𝐠𝐬 as a sacrifice because they are cannibals. Dredd breaks free, but the Angels attack him right away and he kills them one at a time. One of the salvage team members sent by Chief Justice Griffin to look into the shuttle crash kills Pa Angel when he attacks Dredd. Chief Justice Fargo, who had discovered the crash site, shoots the two salvage men just as they are getting ready to execute Dredd. Mean Machine Angel, whom Dredd had killed just moments earlier, injures Fargo severely. Dredd fights Mean and kills him by electrocuting him because he broke the Mega City Code by using electricity in an illegal way. Concerning a picture she found of Dredd as a baby with his parents, 𝐓𝐴𝐚𝐠𝐬 consults 𝐓𝐚𝐼R, a promising cadet. Soon after, 𝐓𝐚𝐼R realizes that the photo is a fake. As Fargo passes away from his wounds, he tells Dredd about Janice, a sophisticated genetics project that tried to create the ideal judge by cloning children with the best qualities of the current judges. Rico and Dredd himself were the two subjects who were made, and Dredd had no idea Rico was his brother. Rico became a psychotic monster as a result of the project, and Dredd judged him and sentenced him to life in Aspen. Dredd vows to return to Mega City and prevent Rico from restarting the Janice Project after Fargo passes away. Rico declares war on the street judges with the help of his ABC robot back in Mega City, causing chaos. There are a lot of people killed, and their numbers drop dramatically. 𝐓𝐴𝐚𝐠𝐬 is almost killed when her Lawmaster cycle explodes after she spots a power surge near the Statue of Liberty. Even if they enlist every Academy candidate, the Judges' Council is aware that they will not be able to quickly replenish their ranks, so they meet to discuss the crisis. Griffin suggests that they unlock the Janice Project, which can produce a fully mature judge in a matter of hours. Because the technology is more advanced than it was 20 years ago, it is possible to produce adult clones rather than children. Griffin, along with each council member, gives their approval, but when they realize that the project was already a major failure, they all object. Griffin is still alive when Rico enters the room and kills the council as a whole. Dredd and 𝐓𝐴𝐚𝐠𝐬 are able to enter the city through a heat vent outside the walls, but they barely make it inside. Dredd steals the uniform of a judge as they enter the halls of justice. Griffin and the council members who were killed are discovered by Dredd. Also, he sees Rico, but he doesn't stop him. Griffin kills himself by shooting himself in the arm, accusing Dredd of assaulting and killing the council. Dredd and 𝐓𝐴𝐚𝐠𝐬 flee on a newer model Lawmaster when guards move in to arrest him. After an irate pursuit, they escape. Dredd informs 𝐓𝐴𝐚𝐠𝐬 of Rico's strategy after finding her at her apartment. She joins him as they travel to the Statue of Liberty, where Rico has already begun the Janice Project. Rico orders the ABC robot to dismember Griffin in response to Griffin's objections to Rico replacing the previous DNA samples with his own. At the point when Dredd, 𝐓𝐴𝐚𝐠𝐬 and 𝐓𝐴𝐚𝐠𝐬 attempt to enter the lab, Rico has the robot shoot 𝐓𝐴𝐚𝐠𝐬 and hold onto 𝐓𝐴𝐚𝐠𝐬. Dredd agrees to listen to Rico explain his plan to create a super race of judges who will only do their bidding after Rico threatens to kill 𝐓𝐴𝐚𝐠𝐬. Naturally, Dredd doesn't join Rico, so they fight one-on-one. 𝐓𝐴𝐚𝐠𝐬 fights with 𝐓𝐴𝐚𝐠, chief scientist of the Janice Project, Rico's assistant, who distracts the ABC robot long enough to disable it. Dredd is finally caught by Rico in the sky above the city. Dredd is told by Rico that his punishment for betraying Rico years ago is death. Dredd can occupy Rico with a flare from his lawgiver and pulls Rico past the brink where he tumbles to his demise. Dredd is found by 𝐓𝐴𝐚𝐠𝐬, who carries him to safety. In the city, Dredd is welcomed as a legend. He declines the request to become Chief Justice, stating that he would rather remain a street judge.